Hello friends, I welcome you all in these GATE classes initiated by All India TechU faculty. In this class basically I will cover the one part of the engineering mathematics, that is the complex analysis. So first I will just discuss about the syllabus of this complex analysis, what are the topics that we will cover in this whole discussion, and then further we will start the first topic. So since it is the first lecture, I will start from the basic part of the complex analysis, right? And then later on we will also solve the gate problems. So if you look here, so basically these are the 5 major topic which we will cover, and this is the major part of the syllabus also, right? So this is basically asked in mechanical engineering branch, civil engineering, IN, EC and EEE, right? So the first topic, which is very important topic, that is the analytic function. Most of the problems are basically asked from these 5 topics only. So the first topic is analytic function. Second is the Cauchy integral theorem and integral formula. This integral formula is a very important topic. Around 70% question are asked in GATE exam based on this topic only, right? So the third topic, that is Taylor and Lorentz series. Fourth topic is the residue theorems, and also we can solve the question of the integral complex integral related problem from this residue theorem also. So the last topic, that is solution of the integral. We can also say that it is the part of this integral formula, right? So basically the complex integral, if it asks the related problem, you can very easily solve by using these two formula. Either you use the Cauchy integral formula, or you can also solve by using the residue theorem. So first I will just start what is the complex number, and then further we also cover in this lecture 1 or 2 problem from the basic, right? So first I will just discuss about the basic concept related to the complex number. What about the complex number? When we say that any number is called complex number, so you know what is complex number. Any number of the form, any number, you can write any number of the form any number of the form z is equal to x plus iota y, right? X plus iota y, any number of this form x plus iota y, that is called what? Is called is a complex number, right? So I think you have already studied these things. It's a very basic thing, what is complex number. Now what about x, y and iota? So x and y, where you can write where this x and y both are basically the real numbers. What? Real numbers, right? These two are real numbers, and iota, you know, I is basically under root minus 1. So if any number you can write in this form, we say that it is basically what? Complex number, right? So for example, you can see here, if you just write the number z is equal to 2 plus 3 iota, right? So this is called complex number because it x, where x in place of x it is 2, in place of y it is 3, and iota itself it's a place. So now the question is how we can represent in a graph. So if you look here, if you want to represent on a graphical notation, so you can see here, let's suppose we represent this complex number z here in this plane. So it is basically x plus iota y. X plus iota y, this is basically represent the real axis, that is the x axis, right? And in the imaginary part you can write here, this is the imaginary part are the value of y, so you can write this y here. Now this is the real part and that one is the imaginary part of the complex number. Now what is the meaning of x plus iota y in this system? So basically it represent the ordered pair of x comma y, where x is basically this value, right? You can just denote just simple the coordinate. In a coordinate system we can represent this, basically represent the y distance and this represent the x distance. So you can also represent this complex number in this coordinate system as a ordered pair of x and y, right? So this is the simple notation of the complex number. Now we move on the second part, that is the complex function, right? But yes, how you represent this number? So you can just take, let's suppose this is 0, this is 1 and this is 2. So in the similar way here, this is 1, this is 2 and this is 3. So you can suppose this coordinate of this point is basically 2 comma 3, right? Or you can also write in a complex plane it is 2 plus 3 iota, right? So this is the simple notation and also the representation of the complex number. Now we move on the next thing, what is the complex function? So now as you have seen what is the complex number, now we see what is complex function. So very simple, once you take the function of that number, that is called the what? Complex function. So you can just write fz be any function, you can write as fz be any function defined on the set of complex number, defined on the set of complex numbers is called complex valued function, is called complex valued function, right? If you take the function of this z, that is the complex function. So basically complex function, what about the complex function? Once you just define fz, which is basically set of the complex number, which as you have seen z is equal to what? X plus iota y. So once you take its function, it is again, it has two part, real and imaginary part, right? Real and imaginary part, and u and v both are basically generated by this z. So you can say that u is nothing but it's a function of x and y. In the similar way, v is also generated by this x and y, means the complex number. So you can say that this fz is nothing but what? It's a function of u and v, right? Where this u represent real part, u is basically the real part of this function fz, right? किसका part है? Real part है, right? And v is the imaginary part of this fz, right? So this complex function is basically represented by fz is equal to u plus iota v, where u is the real part and v is the imaginary part. You can also represent this complex function in a coordinate system, or just represented by you. If you take any function fz, right, which is basically u plus iota v. As you have represent this number as a ordered pair in a number form, in the similar way we can define the complex function as in real and imaginary part. So this is the real part, that is u, and this is the imaginary part, which is basically v, right. So if you represent here this fz, this means that its a coordinate is basically u comma v, right. So this is the simple notation of this complex function. One more thing, if you want to calculate the distance of this, or you can say that the modulus of this z, you can also calculate. So the next is how we can calculate the modulus of this, because some question are asked based on simple modulus problem also. So modulus, how we take its modulus. So let's suppose z is a complex number which is basically represented by x plus iota y. As you have seen, this in a coordinate system we can represent it as an ordered pair of a real and imaginary part. Just z is equal to x plus iota y, right, x plus iota y. So x is basically what? X is this real part and y is distance in the imaginary part. Now if you want to calculate this modulus of z, you see it is nothing but we can easily calculate x square plus y square. It basically represents the radial distance from the origin, right. So it's a very simple thing. As you know, this is basically the y distance and this is basically the x distance. So by Pythagoras theorem we can calculate this modulus z. It is basically represented by modulus z, which is nothing but what? Under root x square plus y square. You know, if let's suppose this is the r distance, so r is equal to, we can write by Pythagoras theorem, x square plus y square. R, if you calculate the value of r, so it is nothing but x square plus y square. We can write it as modulus of z, right. So this is the simple notation. Also, if you want to calculate in term of polar coordinate system, then you can also calculate. You have to just put at x is equal to r cos theta, right, and y is equal to r sin theta. So you can easily convert this into what? Polar coordinate system. Also this is Cartesian coordinate system. We can also represent this complex number in term of polar coordinate system. One more important thing that we observed, we know the Euler's formula. Euler's formula, you can write Euler's formula, because few questions are also asked based on this formula. So we just write what is Euler's formula and how we can write the complex number in term of this r and theta. So you know this Euler formula is basically iota e raised to the power iota theta, that is what? Cos theta plus I sin theta. This is very important formula. Many question in GATE exam based on this formula only. So let's suppose if you want to calculate the value of iota only, if you want to find out the value of iota only in term of exponential, so how you find out? You know the value of sin theta will be 0 at 0, right, at 0, and cos theta value will be what? You know, at, if you put 0, in that case cos theta will be 1, right, and sin theta will be 0, right. Second is, if you put theta is equal to pi by 2, then what will happen? Then cos theta is basically what? At pi by 2 the cos theta value will be 0 and sin theta value is basically 1. right? So if you want to calculate the value of iota in term of e exponential, then what you will put here in place of theta? You know, if you put theta is equal to pi by 2, then cos value will be 0, sin value will be 1. So you will get the value of this e I theta will be what? It will be e raised to the power, we can just simply put I pi by 2. Its value is nothing but what? Iota, right? So if you put theta is equal to pi by 2, you will get what? Ei theta will be I, right? In the similar way, if you put 0 means simply you will get 1, and you can see in the both side will be 1. So in the similar way, you can put the different value of this theta and calculate this value of e raised to the power I theta. So first I will just take a one gate problem, because my main objective is to take most of the question in the discussion, right? So first I will start a very simple question which is basically asked in gate exam. It's a, you know, this is the basic question, and this question is asked in gate 1996. It's a old question, right? But yes, this is very important, because first we clear our basic concept related to the complex number, and then we move on the advanced topic, that is analytic function, Cauchy integral formula. One by one we cover all these topics. So this is basically asked in 1996 and in mechanical branch. Now the question is, you have to find out the value of I, right? I raised to the power I, and where it mention where I is basically under root minus 1, right? Is given by. So there has a basically 4 options. First option says its value is 0. Second option says its value is e raised to the power minus pi by 2. And the third option, it says its value is pi by 2. And the fourth option, that is the option number D, is 1, right? So how we can find the solution of this equation problem, right? So first you just see here iota raised to the power iota, right? Iota raised to the power iota. And if you look the option, then you can very easily observe we have to find out either in term of exponential or pi by 2, or means there has some number, or in term of exponential. So as we know Euler's formula, what is the Euler's formula? As I told you, the Euler's formula, that is e raised to the power iota theta, which is nothing but cos theta plus iota sin theta. And we have to find out the value of iota raised to the power iota. And you know, what about iota? As we have just calculated, the value of iota is nothing but we can write e raised to the power I what? Pi by 2. Because once you put here e raised to the power I pi by 2 in Euler's formula, what you will get? You have cos pi by 2 and plus I sin pi by 2, right? I sin pi by 2. And once you put here this value, you know cos pi by 2, which is 0, and I and this sin pi by 2 is basically 1. So finally you will get iota. So in place of iota, you can write e raised to the power iota pi by 2. So I just simply put here. Why? Because the options are in the same form. So now you just put here e raised to the power I pi by 2. In place of I we can write this, right? In place of I we can write e raised to the power I pi by 2, and again the power is I, right? Only one at one I just put e raised to the power I pi by 2. So once you multiply, what you will get? I square, and you know I square value is basically minus 1, right? I is basically under root minus 1. So I square is basically what? Minus 1, right? So you can see the option number B is correct in this case. So these type of problem first we will solve the basic problem which are very important, and then we move on the advanced problem which are basically asked in recent exam, right? Now one more problem I just include because these problem are from the basic, and once we clear our basic, advanced problem will be also solved. So now the next problem which is asked in GATE 2008, GATE 2008. Now see the question. The value of the expression, the value of the expression -5 plus 10 iota divided by this 3 plus 4 iota is. They have just asked the value of this, and there has a 4 options. First option is 1 minus 2 iota. Option number B, which is basically 1 plus 2 iota. Option number C, which is basically 2 minus iota, and this option number D, which is basically 2 plus iota, right? So this is the 4 option. Now the question is how we can approach. If you look here, then there has a no denominator term, right, in these all these 4 options. So what is our approach? How we can solve? This is a very simple thing. If you want to rationalize it, right, and also if you want to find the value of the denominator only in the real number, then what you have to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So we just simply multiply this number by what? Let's suppose this is z, which is basically -5 plus 10 iota. You can see how this question is very easy, right? 3 plus 4 iota. Now you just multiply by its conjugate. So its denominator is 3 plus 4 iota. Our interest is to make it real in the denominator, right? So what we will do, we just multiply by its complex conjugate, that is 3 minus 4 iota, and again in the numerator by 3 minus 4 iota. And what you will get, you just, once you multiply, you just simply multiply. I just write in the denominator what we will get. So it is nothing but a plus b and a minus b, right? So we can write a square and minus b square. So minus b square, that is 4 iota square, right? A square minus b square. And in the numerator, once you multiply, 5 3 are 15, so this is basically minus 15. Once you multiply by 3 into 10, 30 iota, right? And once you multiply by this 4 iota in 5 minus 5, then you will get plus 20 iota, right? 4 5 are 20, and minus minus will become plus. Now the last one is 10 4 ja, right? It is basically 40, right? And also I this become what? Plus 40, right? I square, which is -1, and minus minus this become plus. So this become basically 40, right? You just multiply 4 iota into minus 4 iota, right? 10 iota into 4 iota. So minus 40 into I square is -1. So you will get simply what? Plus 40. So once you simplify, what you will get? 40 minus 15, that is 25, right? And plus 30 plus 20, which is basically 50 iota, right? So in the denominator, what you will get here, 3 square, that is 9, and 4 4 ja 16, I square is -2, it become plus, right? So this becomes 16. So finally you will get what? 25 plus 50 iota divided by 25. So finally we have what? 1 plus 2 iota. So we can simply say that option number B is correct. So these basically problem I have just started from the very basic level, as I told you, I will focus on more problem, right? Because you have already know the basic things related to the complex number. You have already studied in 10 plus 2 classes also, right? So I will here in this lecture I will try to focus on more problem. If there has any things which is related to the basic, and also if there has some formula, parallelly I will also write that one, right? Also I will cover the definition related to the basic thing. So these are the two problems which are very from the basic level. Now we start the another topic, you can say, what about the limit of the complex function. So now the next definition is basically limit of a complex function. What about the limit of the complex function fz? If you want to calculate the limit of the complex function, then how you approach? So we can say that L is the limit point of the complex function fz. We can say that this L is the limit point, is the limit point of the complex function fz, complex function fz. When we say that L is the limit point of this complex function fz, as it asks कि as z approaches to z0, right? As z approaches to z0. Just see, when we say that L is the limit point of the complex function fz, as z approaches to z0, if it satisfies limit z tends to z0, right, fz is basically L, right? When we say that L is the limit point of this complex function fz as z approaches to z0, so if this condition is satisfied, limit z tends to z0, fz is goes to L, and L is the what limit point of this function fz as z approaches to z0, right? So this is the first definition. What is the limit? Basically limit of a complex function as z approaches to z0. We just simply calculate this value. Also I will solve the problem related to this one. Now next is the continuity and this limit, both are related to each other. So next is, what about the continuity of a complex function fz, complex function fz, right? What about the continuity of the complex function fz? So now we see any function, any complex function is said to be continuous at any point. Let's suppose we suppose fz is, किसी भी पॉइंट पे आप बोल सकते हो, जिस पॉइंट पे कंटिन्यूस होगा, दिस कंडीशन मस्ट बी सेटिस्फाई. fz इज said to be continuous at z is equal to z0. We say that this function is continuous at z0 if it satisfies limit z tends to z0, fz is equal to fz0, right? fz0. So now the question is, what about the continuity? When we say that any function is continuous, try to understand. If you just understand graphically, then what it's saying. First we just express this one. Limit z tends to z0 means what? Whether it is equal to no. z tends to z0 means it is approaching to z0, which means that z is equal to, you can suppose, z0 plus something is a very small quantity, you can approximately 0, right, which is approximately 0. Z tends to z0 means either it become z is equal to z0 or z0 plus 0, or you can also say that z0 minus 0, means it is not exactly equal, it is just approaching towards z0, right. So you can also write like this, the left limit is equal to the right limit, that is z0 minus 0, that is equal to f z0 plus 0, right. You can also write like this. Now the second is, if we want to find out the value of this fz as z tends to z0, right, and this must be equal to fz0, this means that the left limit, that is z0 minus 0, which is equal to the right limit, that is z0 plus 0, and it is exactly equal to fz0. You can also suppose, we are interested to find out the continuity at this point z0, right. So it's saying the functional value corresponding to this z0, whatever the functional value is there, functional value to the left limit and also from the right limit, that is z0 plus 0 and here z0 minus 0. All these three functional value is what? These are basically same, right? These are basically same. There has, these three are not three different points, but it's the at the same functional value. If the functional value are same, these all will be approaching to the सेम फंक्शनल वैल्यू, राइट. ये तीनों अलग अलग नहीं होंगे, एक ही वैल्यू हो जाएगी. इन दैट केस फंक्शनल वैल्यू, इन दैट केस वी से दैट this function is continuous at that point. By graphical notation you can also understand what is the meaning of continuity. So let's suppose this is the function and this is the, let's suppose, z value, right. So this is z value, this is f z value, right. Now if you take 3 point, right, if you just break into left or right from a particular point, let's suppose this is the z naught, right, this is the z naught. If you are going to right side, that is z naught plus 0, and if you are moving on the left side, that is z naught minus 0. And if you want to find out the functional value for the same, let's suppose this is the functional value, this the for the second one, and let's suppose this for the third one, right. It height may be upper or lower also, right. So it's saying कि a function is continuous once these 3 points are nothing but they are overlap to each other. Means if you want to change something very small to the right side and left side, so these 3 are nothing but of the same value, they give all the same value. I just zoom it to represent only this function, otherwise it's a very close value. You know z0 minus 0, which is basically in most of the book it represented like this, z naught plus h. H is very small value closer to 0. So if you want to find out the continuity of this function, so if you move on the left and right, it will be not 3 different point, left, right or itself, right. We can represent as we have represented z naught plus h, right side limit, left side limit, and the value of at that point. These are not 3 point but the same point. This means that this will become continuous. In the similar way, if you want to calculate for this second one, if you move left and right, again overlap. So this left, right, and again these are not 3 point. So in this way you can move and make the whole region continuous if this condition is satisfied, right. Means the left limit, right limit and that point it all are overlap to each other, right? So these are the basic definition, but in the GATE exam you have to simply solve the problem. So I will more focus on the problem, right? Parallelly we will try to understand the basic concept related to that one also, but more focus is on the problem, right? So now as we have seen, when any function is said to be continuous at this point if this condition is satisfied. Let's suppose there has a region R where this function fz is defined, right? And it asks about whether this function is continuous in this region R if it is basically continuous at all point of this region R, right? If it is continuous at all point of this region R, we can say that this function is continuous, right? So this is the first lecture. In the next lecture also I will discuss about what is differentiability of the complex function, what is analytic function, right? And also we see most important topic, that is Cauchy-Riemann equation. We also see the necessary and sufficient condition to prove that any function which is basically analytic, right? So first I will start this. In this lecture we have only covered the basic thing. In the next lecture we start basically our first topic, that is the analytic function. Then we further move on the Cauchy integral theorem and also the integral formula, Taylor-Lorentz series residue theorem,